Hey there, K-Korner family! It's your host, Crown, back with another set of incredible stories that are sure to keep you hooked. From the bizarre to the downright astonishing, we've got it all. So grab a snack, find a comfy spot, and let's dive into the world where the unexpected is just another part of the day. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get started. So this all happened years ago when I was still in college. I worked for a delivery joint. The company seemed super cool because they provided vehicles instead of forcing you to beat down your own car. Huge perk, right? Well, in this case, no. The owner of the company used this as justification to take a percentage of the driver's tips. Often this would result in an employee making below minimum wage. If you made below minimum wage, you would have to come and pick up your check in person and sign a document attesting that you did make minimum wage due to undocumented cash tips, or some such nonsense. Now this was a problem for two reasons. Number one, in the state I was in, employee tips belonged to the employee unless part of an employee tip pooling agreement. This was plain as day on the Department of Labor website. So that 20% gouge was already crossing a line. Number two, you cannot just hand wave or force employees to say they made above minimum wage. So pretty shady crap, right? Now most people would see this situation and run for the hills, which probably explained the delivery driver turnover being so high. I, on the other hand, saw the potential. See, I'm pretty well versed in labor law and decided that I was going to ride it out. I wanted to see how long they would keep this up. Here and there I would make comments to the managers about the legality of their practices. I was often told, our lawyers said it's okay, so it's okay. Would love to meet these lawyers one day, so I patiently waited for a year, documenting every red cent they took from me and encouraging the other drivers to do so. Every new driver that came through that door got a little bow wow with me, and I would give them the skinny. Unfortunately, my plan must have leaked because sooner than later the joint decided to fire me after making out 3 bogus infractions. If you're interested in those, ask and I'll explain in an edit. This wasn't a problem though, as my plan was already in action. See, in the state, unpaid wages collect interest. So what was $20–40 a night, 5 nights a week, over 1 year, quickly became a decent sum. So I began collecting the names of current and previous employees whom had been screwed over by the company and collected their documented data, then sent it off to the Department of Labor. At the end of the day, it took a couple of months, but the company was eventually required to pay a decent chunk of change to all parties and a pretty hefty fine on top. Overall, I believe it came out to a little under 100K. I wasn't done though. See, those shitty little documents they had us sign claiming we made over minimum wage affected how the company was reporting its payroll tax. The IRS eventually came in and hit them for a ton of back taxes, and I received a small portion of the settlement. The IRS used to pay people who tipped them off. Don't know if they still do. Finally, I was increasingly aware of the company's under-the-table agreement with their health inspector, which I decided to go ahead and tip off to the health department. This resulted in even more fines and a temporary closure for the joint. Altogether, it ended up costing this dumb little delivery joint a ton of money just to stay open. All cause they wanted 20% of their drivers' tips. The moral here is this: know your labor laws. It's degenerates like these whom profit of the ignorance or fear of a workforce. The more you know about your rights, the less idiots like these will be able to survive in the wild. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I used to work for a married couple, Billy, male 52, and Gigi, female 44, who owned a business services/public relations agency. It lasted more or less for a year. They seemed nice and humble, but in reality they were shady and untruthful. The company began to falter because of poor management and zero intention to prioritize. Billy was your baby-faced next-door neighbor type. He looked about 10 years younger and had a kind smile. He was soft-spoken and had an artistic and creative flair to him. Gigi looked matronly with a Mother Earth incarnate attitude towards her children. She prided herself on being ruthless when it came to giving her family only the best. She could be really nice when she wanted to, but I found out early on that she was 100% a gossip and being two-faced. The company's constant changes were a red flag. They went from business services plus PR agency to IT provider, to a business incubator, to indie beer partners. What I'm trying to say is that they try to dip their donut on everyone's coffee, figuratively. Some of us had no real way to escape. The lady working next to me was already 67 years old and scared that no one would hire her. I wasn't in a great place either. We were 8 employees in total. They wouldn't lay anyone off because they believed that the employee should quit. They paid us only a portion of our salaries, incomplete weekly payments. Employees would run for the hills once they found a better job. Some of us were stuck, and it was horrible. Then they would pay the normal rate for a month and then do it again. They never cut down on their luxury expenses, so the wife would post her shopping sprees or arrive in a new car like it was nothing. Zero empathy. Very insensitive. The husband was obsessed with making it big time, so much that he sometimes failed to see an opportunity right in front of him, and he said he was Coca-Cola's brand manager. I swear I looked it up and could never find any reference. Gigi had a display full of small local magazines, mostly about design and architecture. They were very proud to be a team member, but in reality, they just helped them print 2 issues. They wanted big business only, but in the meantime looked down upon tangible potential clients, like the young Latino couple who showed up trying to learn more about their services. They seemed lost because they wanted someone to help them set up a coffee business and had no idea how it was done. I talked to them and helped them into the waiting room, and they even showed up with their baby in a stroller. That means they must have driven by and decided to come in. An impulsive client should be retained. The guy said his grandpa had a farm and he wanted to create an import/export company. Once Billy showed up, he listened for a bit, then kind of gave them a kind of an abrupt dismissal. That was a crappy move because that couple opened their own business with someone else and even have a Facebook page. It could have been Billy. Billy lined his office walls with posters of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. His wife, the chief enabling officer, put up signs on each room. The main employee area was a machine room. Billy's office was a chamber. The conference room was a meeting of the minds. Every time an employee disagrees with Billy during a brainstorm session, Gigi would call him aside and tell them that Billy is your boss. You need to know that he's brilliant and a genius. I want him to have that taste of success. I experienced that the first hand. I also hated brainstorming because that was never on my job description. They just wanted to pick everyone's brains. In the meantime, we had to see the Pandora jewelry, the expensive makeovers for their daughters, and the weekend at the spa updates on Facebook. Gigi's captions were usually about rewarding herself after a hard week or because she deserved it. Oh, and I'd like to mention that they bought into the social guru phrases about emotional direction. So if an employee ever got angry, Gigi would tell you, remember, the one who gets angry is the one who ends up losing. For anyone who's been in this situation, you may understand how painful it can be. You cannot leave the job because you have no other job waiting for you. And as pathetic as it may sound to some income is better than no income at all. This is an involuntary compromise and it's abusive. Why were we expected to pay for their luxuries via incomplete wages? My best friend's ex is into coding and programming and he agreed to help. If it didn't work out, at least we would have something to laugh about. We created a fake website with a matching LinkedIn and the whole 9 yards. To make a long story short, this was supposed to be an investment company and my friend would be very casual, nothing too eager. He started by liking my employer's Facebook page, then comment. And before we knew it, my boss took the bait and was engaged. They exchanged emails and he was eager to share all his projects and ambitious crap. On the other side, the investor sent him a list of requirements, like proof of concept, employer payroll, EIN, and so on. The investor agreed to work with them if they could prove they were legit and up-to-date. No bank account of confidential info was asked. Within 3 weeks, I was paid the equivalent to the 2 months and a half I was owed. The investor did an about-face and never contacted him again. I left the job as soon as I could. My friend who remained until she got paid told me our boss seemed off and a bit down after he announced big things are coming. But it all seemed to deflate. I never disclosed what was really going on. Edit: my boss wasn't scammed into paying money to the fake website. He was catfished into getting up to date with employee salaries that he owed. Another edit: for anyone who doesn't understand the story, no money was paid, asked from or wired from my boss to the investor. We baited his greedy character and told him that if he could prove everything was in order, the investment would happen. This included the payroll. No confidential info was asked nor offered. seen or reviewed. He paid everyone what he owed them, and the payment was made to each worker as normally. No one stole money via any website. He just made the effort. EIN numbers and what we asked are not confidential. I'm 24 female, and 6 months ago my best friend Tess, 26 female, asked me to be her maid of honor for her wedding. We have been friends for years now and I love her a lot. She has always been there for me and we've been through a lot together. The one thing Tess was the most excited for was her bachelorette. She has been talking about it even before she got engaged, which is why I feel so guilty. I also helped her plan our Vegas trip and we were supposed to leave this week. But a few days ago, Jason, my partner, got laid off from work. Even though he saw it coming, it hit him hard. He's just stressed and really upset. He didn't even tell me at first because he didn't want me to be worried, but when he finally told me, I just knew I couldn't go anymore. I was really conflicted and I knew what this meant to Tess and that I'm a maid of honor. But I just couldn't consider going to Vegas while Jason is this upset. He's a strong guy, but I felt like he shouldn't go through this alone. I worked up the courage to call Tess, and it just went so much worse than I planned. Tess thought I was joking first, and then she just became really angry, which is understandable. But I wish she understood my situation too. Tess at first told me to do whatever and cut the call, but she didn't respond when I tried contacting her again. After that, she sent me a lot of messages saying that I'm stealing her special day, and started questioning why I accepted to be a maid of honor if I didn't want to do the duties that came along with it. She said I'm untrustworthy and jealous, that I am ruining her special moment for a guy I've only known for a year. I'll admit I usually do not accept Tess's offers to go clubbing and she blames that on Jason being controlling. But in reality, and I've explained that to her, I just turned into a homebody because I never really enjoyed that stuff in the first place. I still go out with her a lot, and I make sure I'm there for her, but for her bachelorette, I was willing to do that and more. I really want to go and make it special. She told me that her whole plan will fall through because I was the one with a plan. I told her I'll explain it all to one of our other friends, but she said I don't have to because I'm no longer her friend, and that hurt a lot to hear. On one hand, I don't regret my decision. Jason needed me, and Tess should understand how difficult this is for us. But also, this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip, and she has been dreaming about it since forever. I'm also the one who planned a lot of the stuff. Our mutuals also reached out to let me know that Tess was very angry, and that what I did was not cool. Now I'm doubting myself and I need to know if I have to apologize. I obviously can't ask anyone I know. Jason thinks I'm right, and I'm sure Derek and the bridesmaid think this is right. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, I'm sorry, but you're the jerk. Jason can manage himself for a weekend without you. Even if he's sad about something, he's a big boy and he can make plans with other friends and family and take care of himself while you're gone. You bailed on your good friend to just sit home and hold his hand. I think you owe your friend a huge apology. Another commenter goes with, first, if you honestly believe that tanking a once-in-a-lifetime trip to celebrate a friend's marriage is reasonable because a grown person can be sad without you for a few days, you need therapy. I don't want to speculate what issues you might be having, but your thoughts and actions here demonstrate very unhealthy patterns and dynamics. You need help finding perspective in your life, and you're in for a very frustrating time. Second, you're the jerk, a massive, indisputable, flaming jerk. If I saw someone make this choice in real life, I would assume they hated their friend and wanted to be removed as maid of honor and end the friendship. If that's not your goal here, then you need to get better so you don't ruin your other friendships like you ruined this one. Therapy. The third commenter adds, you are the jerk. Jason knew about this for the last 6 months. If Jason doesn't have himself together enough to endure a hard time without his partner, then you need to evaluate your relationship a bit better. You prioritizing your partner over your best friend in most situations is understandable, but an event like this? Questionable. More context is needed on the duration of your friendship with her and your relationship with him, but in all honesty, people get laid off all the time. I understand it sucks real bad, but it's not the end of the world and certainly not a reason he can't survive by himself for a few days. You wouldn't believe the kind of day I had, I said, collapsing onto my couch. My best friend Mark sat across from me, his eyebrows raised in a way that said he was ready for one of my crazy work stories? Try me, he replied, grinning. I work as a security officer at Greenfield Mart, a popular local supermarket in our town. Most days are mundane, filled with scanning the aisles, helping elderly customers and the occasional lost child. But today was different, wildly different. I was at my usual post near the entrance, sipping my lukewarm coffee, when I noticed two individuals acting suspiciously in the electronics section. One was a tall, burly man with a scraggly beard, and the other, a slim woman with a nervous look about her. They were eyeing the cameras and whispering to each other, clearly up to no good. Hey, have you noticed those two over by the TVs? I radioed Jen, my colleague. Yeah, I've been watching them. Something's off. Jen's voice crackled through the radio. I decided to stroll closer, pretending to rearrange some items on a nearby shelf. And that's when I heard them. We just grab what we can and bolt. It's easy, the man muttered. Are you sure? This feels wrong. The woman whispered back. Before I could react, they split up. The man headed towards the high-value electronics, stuffing a couple of smartphones into his jacket, and the woman, on the other hand, slipped several video games into her bag. Classic shoplifting, but they were clumsy. Too obvious. I radioed Jen again. They are making a move. I'm going after the guy. Get the woman. As I approached the man, he saw me and bolted. I chased him down the aisles, dodging shopping carts and startled customers. It was a chaotic sprint. I finally caught up with him near the exit and grabbed his arm. Sir, I need you to come with me, I said firmly. He swung around, a wild look in his eyes. Get off me, he yelled, and shoved me hard. I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance. And that's when things escalated quickly. I regained my footing and tried to calm the situation. Sir, please don't make this worse. Let's sort this out quietly, I suggested. But he wasn't having any of it. He lunged at me, fists flying. I dodged his swings, trying to subdue him without causing a scene. But he was strong and clearly desperate. Meanwhile, I heard commotion from the other side of the store. Jen must have been dealing with the woman, and I hoped she was handling it better than I was. Just then the man managed to land a punch. It caught me off guard, and I reeled from the impact. And that's when backup arrived. Two of my colleagues rushed in and helped me restrain the man. Let me go, he screamed, thrashing wildly. We need to call the police, one of my colleagues said, panting from the effort of holding him down. As my other colleague dialed 911, the woman suddenly appeared, screaming at the top of her lungs. Leave him alone. He can't do this. She charged at Jen, who had followed her. It was a full-on brawl now. Customers were either running out of the store or watching in shock. The police arrived within minutes, but those minutes felt like hours. The shoplifters were still resisting, shouting about how they were being unfairly targeted and how they did nothing wrong. As the officers handcuffed them, the man spat out, "You'll regret this. We were just borrowing them." Borrowing? Really? I couldn't help but scoff. The police took our statements and the shoplifters were escorted to the squad car. The whole store was a mess now, products scattered on the floor, a few broken items and customers whispering and shooting curious glances. Mark was laughing by the time I finished recounting the events. Wow, that's insane. You can't make this stuff up. I wish I did. I sighed, rubbing my sore jaw. It's going to be a long report to write, and I bet tomorrow's just going to be another normal day at Greenfield Mart. And that's a wrap, folks. Thank you for joining me on today's wild ride through these unbelievable stories. It's always an adventure here at K-Korner, and I'm thrilled to have you along for the journey. Remember, life is full of twists and turns, and sometimes the most incredible stories are the ones we live through every day. If you enjoyed today's video, give us a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more amazing stories, and as always, keep it carefree and easygoing. Until next time, this is Crown, signing off.